Good morning. Welcome to Q and Amaco. I'm Kara, and I have so much to share with you all today. So I'm still going to be working on my octopus cake stand, which has been going on for quite some time because I get a little obsessive about my painting. But I also have all kinds of other news for you all, including new products. So I'm going to be showing those in a little bit. Hi, Sherry. Hi from Arkansas. Glad you're here. So I have my smugs ready. Shall I switch over for a minute? And move my smugs a little closer. Here we go. So you can see me and you can see what I'm working on. So I have my octopus cake stand, and I need a little water on my light blue. I want to do some lighter colors on here. And I also have some. So it has been a busy couple of weeks, and those of you who you might have seen some news that we have, Amaco has some new colors coming out in the Satin Matte. Good morning, Robin. Georgia. I don't know about Georgia and Arkansas, but it's kind of rainy and gray here for being August. Very odd. So we have new Satin Matte, Celadon, and Velvet colors. They are not in stores yet, but you can tell your favorite distributor that you're interested, and they will make sure to get them in the pre-orders, which are now open for our distributors. Sherry asks, can you mix gum solution with underglazes? And absolutely yes, you can. And if your underglazes are behaving strangely, I highly recommend using a little gum solution in them. It will help them to go on more easily. It will slow the drying time, but it will make them brush better. Gina, greetings from Taiwan. Welcome. I love when we have people from everywhere. And I realize that it is probably quite late in Taiwan. So thank you for joining us. Color on here. And if you have not seen the rest of the videos where I'm doing this decoration, just to give you some idea of what I'm doing here, this is the semi-moist underglazes, which work like watercolors, and I am applying them on top of unfired satin matte white, and then this will be fired to cone 5. And if you use them under a glaze directly on the bisque and then apply a clear glaze over, they are tested and confirmed to be food safe. We do not test them for food safety on top of a glaze like I'm using them here. And so just for safety's sake, I do not put these on food surfaces. I don't know that they're not food safe, but just to be safe, We don't test them that way. I just use them on non-food surfaces. Evelyn says, hi from Yorba Linda, California. So I'm having to do a little switching of devices today, but I should be able to see everybody's comments. Yumiko says, would adding water to velvets give them the same watercolor effect as you have here? Yumiko, they would be similar, but not the same. So you would get a different sort of effect because the velvets have more clay in them. So they're closer to a slip or a slurry than to these. So the semi-moist underglazes have a different composition, and they're very low in clay, which is why they are more transparent, more watercolor-like. So you get a similar effect with watering down velvets, but not the same. And that's kind of one of the advantages of using the smugs. So another advantage to using the smugs is that even though they dry when you're not using them, they don't dry out the way that regular glazes do or underglazes do, and so you don't have to worry about them like drying out and not being usable anymore. They will still be, you can come back years later and they are still just as workable as they were to begin with. Let's see, little lighter blues. So I'm going to get a little bit more done here, and then I'm going to show you all some new colors. You can actually see the yellow vase. See it in the overhead, but you can see it in the selfie. It's back. And for those of you who get the Ceramics Monthly magazine, show you the latest Ceramics Monthly. This is the September Ceramics Monthly. We have ads that I can show you here. So we have the new velvet colors, Nectar and Blood Orange are shown. And they have, the color stays stable up to cone 10. Aren't those beautiful? Straight to our overhead so you can see these more clearly. Aren't those lovely? And then we have the new Celadon Colors. Oh my gosh. Look at this. And I'm going to show you these in person. So we have C42 Saguaro, like the cactus. We have C24 Succulent. Isn't that pretty? It's kind of a minty color. We have C26 Lagoon. C33 Sandalwood. And last is C52 Red Rock. So we have colors that are influenced by nature and the outdoors. Yeah, I think they're just beautiful. So Red Rock is very different in that it is a very rosy brown, like a brick kind of color, really, really rich. It is different from Snapdragon, which is a warm red but is more like a lipstick red. So this bottom half here is this is Snapdragon, and you can see next to Red Rock. Red Rock is very definitely brown, but it is a very warm, rich brown color. Pamela asks, can I request catalogs? We do not produce a full catalog, a printed catalog. We do have the field guides, and you can request a field guide from your local distributor, but we do not mail them out to individuals any longer. So you can ask your distributor for a field guide, and I'll be showing a field guide in just a minute, so you'll get another hint of it. Saguaro is this very light green, and I've seen some comments that some of these colors look really similar to existing Celadons, and that was something that we looked at when we were producing these, and I did want to show some of the colors that we already have. Actually, I have the field guide. Here's some of the, here's our field guide. Field guide. And when I say this is not a catalog, this does not include sizes or pricing or anything else or how to order. It is just the colors so that you can see what the colors look like. But I also have some chips here. I'm sorry, I didn't speak into the microphone for that. We also have some chips here. So for example, Saguaro looks very similar to, sorry, that is Velcro that you're hearing. Looks very similar to both wasabi and to pear. And here is wasabi and here is pear. And it is similar, but it is kind of an in-between color. It's paler than either one of them, kind of a softer green. So if you're looking for that just perfect pale, delicate green, and we don't have anything in these kind of browns. The browns that we have currently, iron and ochre, are much cooler tones. So sandalwood and red rock are both very warm toned browns, really lovely. Lagoon, at first glimpse, looks like it might be similar to Sky, but here is Sky, and you can see that Sky is a much more, well, it may be hard to see in the video, but Sky and Lagoon are different. Lagoon is has a little bit of an aqua tone, just the barest hint of aqua. And Succulent. I don't think we don't have anything that's quite like Succulent, this kind of minty pale green. So very excited about all of these colors. And just like any other Celadons, they are fully mixable across the entire Celadon line, so you can mix them and get some custom colors. Hi, from North Carolina. What was the golden yellow Celadon on the catalog page? Well, the only yellow that we have in the Celadon range is marigold, but we do have ochre, which is more of a light brown, if that's what you were asking about. So C60 marigold is a bright yellow, and C32 ochre is more of an iron beigey color. So I'm going to move on to our Satin Mats. And we have not had any new Satin Matte colors available since the Satin Matte line came out. And I have been a big fan of the Satin Mats for quite some time, so this is very exciting. So I'm going to show you not only the Satin Mats here, so we have Goldenrod, which is this piece. And just like all the other satin mats, the surfaces of these are just silky, silky smooth. I have to reach down under my table to get the next ones. So that is SM60 Goldenrod, and then I have SM24 Seafoam. Very excited about this one because it's a very different color than what we currently have. Just that soft aqua seafoam color. SM46 Moss, another really beautiful color. It's more yellowy than I think it's showing up in the video. It's not really an olive drab, it's more of a yellowy green. Really, really beautiful. SM3 Marble. You can see that sheen on it. Isn't that lovely? Pale, pale gray. Not quite white. I don't think I have anything white satin matte right here to compare, but it is just the barest whisper of gray. SM2 Stone, beautiful taupe color, just a little darker than marble. I love the slight sheen on it. Looks like a river rock. And then last but not least, and I didn't break it, I'm shocked, this is SM53 Cayenne. Really rich, russety red, very much like red rock. Place those down and not break anymore. So while I am thinking about it, I also brought in little jars of the velvet underglazes, the new velvet underglazes. And I didn't show you Sea Glass and Indigo. We don't have those ads in this month's Ceramics Monthly. But I have little dishes like the ones that you see in the ad. And I like to do those with Sgraffito to show how these underglazes look when they're used. So in applying underglazes, and I know this seems pretty obvious, you know, I'm just brushing them on, but it's not like applying glazes where I want to really get a thick coating. With underglazes, I want to do multiple thin layers. Too thick of a layer can result in it cracking and peeling. Jason asks about velvets on top of SM glazes, and I have done it. As I was saying earlier, the velvets have more clay in them than the smugs do, and so they don't give the same result as the smugs, and some of them can bubble and blister. So that is my warning about using them, is to be aware that you can end up with a rough surface. So you should test, and they also will not be as translucent as the smugs will. You can do it. I just recommend that you do a lot of testing with it, because they will not come out quite the same way as what I'm doing here. Some of the colors work pretty well, and some of them really, really, really don't. Other questions about the new colors? So they should be reaching your distributors and be available for purchase in September. Pre-orders are happening now, and we are so, so, so excited to have these for everyone. And And I know that there was a lot of disappointment over discontinuing certain products last year, but it was to make way for us to have new products this year. So hopefully that will feel better to have our newer products, newer colors. Very exciting. Evelyn says, I'll be glad to test the new colors for you. And what is the new yellowish velvet underglaze? Annette asks. The new velvet underglaze is Nectar, and it is a warm yellow. Oh. Let me just show you the ad. There is Nectar right there. You can see it's just a really warm yellow, like summertime flowers. So Wild Acorn says, Yumiko, you can definitely add water to velvets for a watercolor effect. In my experience, though, they can burn out a little easier because they're not as pigmented. That is true, too. To get the watercolor effect, you do need to add so much water that your pigment is not as high. So the smugs have a very high amount of pigment, which is part of why they have the price point that they have. And so the to get the amount of color, it's difficult to get the watercolor effect with a good color. So an example of using the smugs under a glaze is this, which I did on video a while ago, using smugs and chalks together. And then this was fired to cone 5 with HF9 zinc-free clear on it. You can see how it just came out really nice. Wild Acorn says, I put my velvets in a bead tray so they dry out a little, which helps them to be more pigmented. And Amaco underglazes are the best. Well, thank you. All right, I'm just checking my messages, seeing if anything. Sure, I haven't missed anything. I don't have David with me here today, so I have to back and forth a little bit. I should be done with this in the next couple of weeks, and I can show you all how it comes out. I'm really excited for it. And, oh, I almost forgot. I have results from last week's tests, the last couple of weeks' tests. So this is C10 Snow over PC Flux 19 Cirrus Flow, and I didn't get the iridescence that I did when I put snow over honey flux, but maybe a little bit. But I did get a little bit of the oil spot on a flat surface. So this was fired horizontally. You can see it got a little bit of the oil spot effect there, which was nice. And then on the vertical surface, I got this beautiful flow happening on the texture. So that came out really, really lovely. And I did do thinner coats as I went down with the snow so that it wouldn't run right off the pot like it did on my sample mug. So that's one of the things I have to show you all. And STH says, will the new Fluxes and Honey Flux be offered in gallon size? And I'm pretty sure Honey Flux will be offered in gallon size eventually. I don't know when. So, but I would expect that it will be an offering at some point. And the Flux glazes, it really depends on their popularity. So we decide on which glazes are offered in gallons depending on how well they sell in pints. And if it seems like people are buying lots of pints, then we offer them in gallons. And a couple more comments came in. So Jason Wadsworth says, off topic, but I noticed a lot of Honey Flux layers are still missing from the layering page. Yes, they are. And I anticipate that that is still going to take some time to catch up. I'm really sorry about that. We are working on getting those caught up. And Topanga Bird says, again, these can be used on the bottom of a piece since they do not have silicate and don't stick to the kiln shelves or cookies. And that is correct. They do not have much, we don't add any fluxing agents to them. However, some stains by themselves flux at higher temperatures. So I highly recommend that you test that before you put these on the bottom of things and then are surprised when they melt, because some of these will flux. Not a lot, but they may. So the other thing that I was testing recently is underglaze transfers. So we had a person in the Amaco Cone 5-6 Glaze Forum on Facebook who had used an underglaze transfer, a commercial underglaze transfer, on top of PC43 Toasted Sage. So I tried it, and it may be hard to see because the Toasted Sage is pretty brown. Let's see. There we go. You should be able to see that. You guys see that? It's a checkerboard pattern. So I have a little bit of some sample underglaze transfers. Now, if you're wondering why it came out brown, the transfer itself is brown. So don't be surprised that or think that it burned out. It is meant to be a brown underglaze transfer. And then I also used the same transfer on snow, and these were both fired to Cone 5, and they were both fired vertically so that I could see if they moved at all, and they did not move even a little bit. And this is just exactly what it looked like. Worked perfectly. So go ahead and put your transfers on top of your Celadons. Underglaze transfers can go under or over your Celadons. Wild. And Robin says, I've been looking for the Gallon and Honey Flux too, as well. And then this is the Satin Matte with the octopus underglaze transfer. It just looks like tentacles. I don't think there's much of a octopus. Well, look, there's an eye in the head of the octopus. Anyhow, on the Satin Matte worked really well, and it's just silky smooth. And this is a black underglaze transfer, but it worked fantastically. So yeah, go ahead, use your underglaze transfers on top of glaze. I was really surprised for something, if you just want like the subtle colors or texture, you can go ahead and put that on top of something, one of the stiffer PC glazes. As I said, this is Toasted Sage PC43, but it should work exactly the same on Sage, which is PC44, or even possibly on Tourmaline. I haven't tried that one yet. So those are some of the other tests that have come out this week. And I'll make sure that our sales department knows that people are looking for honey flux in gallons, and I'm sure that they will not be at all surprised to hear that. And I'm going to do just a little bit more painting before I let you all go. Are there any other questions that you have for me this week about glazes, about Amaco, about our new products? Existing products? Great test. Robin says, great test on the Celadon and transfers. Thank you. Well, thank you for suggesting things like that. I can't test everything, but I do love trying out new ideas and sharing them with you all. So that was, I had tried transfers on Satin Mats, but it had never occurred to me to put the transfer on top of Toasted Sage. So that is purely from the community. Thank you so much. Any recommendations for combinations with Cirrus Flow? Pretty much I'm finding that anything that looks good with honey flux looks good with all the rest of the flux glazes. So if you have a combination that you think really looks beautiful for honey flux, I am sure it's going to look spectacular with any of the other flux glazes. Trying to think some of my favorites. I love Black Aventurine with any of them. It is runny. And I do like them with the Celadons as well. Sorry, I'm laughing because the honey flux in gallons is a very popular idea, obviously. And definitely I will make sure that our sales department knows that there is a lot of interest in it. So I'm going to wrap this up for today. Thank you all for joining me. It has been a lot of fun, and I will have more things to share with you all next week, as well as in coming weeks I'll be sharing some of the layering and testing that I have been doing with the new Celadons and the new Satin Mats, and see what kind of things we can make. So I will see you all next week. I will also be live on Friday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, live in the studio, which has very little glaze happening, but maybe a little bit as time goes on, and especially as I'm trying out these new glazes. So thank you so much for joining me today. Have a great week and happy glazing.